Welcome to my channel. My name is Kat to the 7th and I'll be your host today. Disorder is a reaction within Zenless Zzzero that has continued to improve since the game's launch back on July 4th, and with units such as Burnice coming out soon to be the missing piece that allows Disorder teams to finally compete with crit agents, I thought it was a good time to look at all the anomaly characters we currently have and know are coming, and let you all know the good, bad, and ugly for Disorder teams within Zenless Zzzero. So follow along with the timestamps below, and let's get started. Firstly, the good thing about Disorder teams is we are finally getting the missing piece that will not only make them more comfortable to play, but also bring out their true potential in Burnice. Currently within the game, you can use Burnice in Chapter 4 of the story, and as well in the new event, and many people are already seeing just how much she improves Disorder teams already. And over a month ago, I made a video stating why Burnice would be the Disorder Queen, and it is simply because she is the glue that will hold these teams together. Previously without Burnice, if you wanted to run a Disorder team, you had to use 2 unfilled anomaly agents in the same team. And some people will say these teams are good because they clear content with them, but overall that's not saying much, because currently Zenless Zzero's endgame is not that difficult, to the point where you can pretty much clear with anything. But that may not be the case in the future, as hoyoverse has shown through all their games in Honkai Impact 3rd, Genshin Impact, and Honkai Star Rail, that they will make the endgame harder, with enemies starting to do more damage, and most importantly have more health as well. So these subpar Disorder teams are going to feel very lackluster in the future, and this is where Burnice comes in, because finally we have the ability to apply 2 anomalies at the exact same time, and because of this we can almost double the amount of Disorder procs within a team. And later when I show you the math, you will see just how much of a massive difference this makes in total DPS, as Disorder teams without Burnice can barely even hit half the damage as teams with Burnice. So the reason I wanted to start the talk with Burnice is to tell you just how important she is, and why she is the most valuable character you can get if you want to play anomaly characters in Disorder for the foreseeable future, especially if we were to take a look at Yanagi. Yanagi has been revealed, and we already have been able to see her gameplay, and most importantly her numbers. And to say Yanagi wants Burnice on her team is a huge understatement, and here's why. Yanagi will be our first ever dedicated Disorder carry in Zenless Zzzero, and this simply means if you aren't playing her with a different element anomaly character, and proccing as many Disorders as possible, then she will feel very subpar. Yanagi is an on-fielder unfortunately, and this means that if you try to run her with Piper or Jane, she will miss out on about half of her Disorder procs, and Grace unfortunately isn't even an option, due to her also being electric. But if we were to take a look at the first calcs, we have a Yanagi with different teams, with all the S ranks at M0 with their signature W engines, and A ranks at M6 with their best overall W engine. Then we can see a Yanagi Piper team is around 1.4 to 1.5 million DPR, which stands for damage per rotation. This might sound good to some of you, but I hate to tell you this isn't even half of what Yanagi and Burnice team can do. As if we were to look at Yanagi and Burnice, their team can go between 3.2 to 3.3 million DPR, which is an incredible amount more. And as for Jane, well, let's just say it's definitely better than Piper, but still not coming close to Yanagi and Burnice team's output. So to avoid even further disappointment, let's skip Jane's numbers with Yanagi and move on, shall we? Overall though, Yanagi is looking to have very solid numbers as long as you pair her with Burnice, and Yanagi's teams can actually compete with Juyen and Jane if you have Burnice to pair with her, as the sheer amount of Disorders you can proc with this team is nothing to scoff at, and will easily be the best Disorder team within the game, but that is also the bad part as well. If you want to play Disorder without Burnice, your team will be and eventually feel subpar, as Burnice is the best partner for Grace's, Piper's, Jane's, and Yanagi's best Disorder team. So this makes it where Burnice has the highest overall value for Disorder teams period, because you can make a great Disorder team with any other anomaly character paired with Burnice, but it's really difficult to make a good Disorder team without Burnice. So Disorder is looking to be a very inflexible team comp as of right now, until they release more off-field anomaly agents. And for those people who want Miyabi to be an anomaly agent, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but unless she's an off-fielder, she will run into the exact same issues as Disorder teams had before. And do you really want Miyabi to be an off-fielder? But I know some players will now ask about Jane, Piper, and Grace, and should they get Burnice for them? And the answer to that is, it's not necessary, because none of them have innate Disorder scaling within their kit, but Burnice will still be a great option for them. But let's break them all down one by one and make it a little bit more clear. For Jane at M0, this is a chart before she was released with Seth and Rena as a team, and we can see this team is doing pretty comparable overall damage to Yanagi and Burnice. And now with Caesar's release, Jane has only gotten better in terms of comfort, and in some cases has more overall damage than the Rena variant. And when I peeked at calcs for Jane and Burnice, I can tell you they are very similar to the teams that Jane has right now. So Burnice can be an upgrade for her, but I don't believe the upgrade is significant enough to justify pulling Burnice just for Jane, as her Disorder team and her carry teams are pretty much the same. So I would say to get Burnice for Jane if you just enjoy the 2 characters, otherwise it's nothing to stress over. As for Piper, she's an interesting case, where it's very similar to Jane, where Piper doesn't really need a sorter to do well, as Caesar is still Piper's most important upgrade for her teams. However, After trying Piper Disorder with Burnice in game, I can say that I personally much prefer it. As a team of Piper, Caesar, and Lucy is great overall, it can see the issue where Caesar and Lucy have so little field time, you will oftentimes need to use a good amount of normal attacks when she runs out of energy. But by replacing Lucy with Burnice, you can now just bring Piper back on field when she has enough energy to spend, as Burnice can have just enough field time to where Piper can recharge and be ready to go as soon as she comes back on field again. And for me personally, I preferred this much more. But overall, Piper does not need Burnice to perform well. It just felt nicer to play in my opinion. But I don't believe this is enough justification to recommend Burnice solely for Piper, and it will again come down to just getting her if you have the resources to do so, and enjoy Piper will. But I would still recommend Caesar over Burnice if you can only choose one of the two, as she is still Piper's biggest upgrade. And if you would like to know more on why this is the case, then check out this video I made for the biggest winners of Caesar King's release, and I'll leave it in the description below. But finally moving on to Grace. Grace is interesting to talk about with Disorder, as everything within Grace's kit revolves around shock. But fortunately for Grace, once you invest in her core skill, she can keep shock uptime extremely high, and pairing this with Burnice will allow you to proc as many disorders as possible. And due to Burnice extending burn duration on enemies, this will lead to higher overall disorder damage as well. And if you are still confused on how disorder is calculated, then check out Gorba's video in the description below, as he explains it very clearly for anyone who's new to Zenless. But even so, I can see Grace's new best team being a disorder composition with Burnice, just because of the sheer amount of disorders you'll be able to apply to enemies. So if you already have a well-invested Grace and are looking to skip Yanagi, then Burnice might be the pickup for you. Disorder teams are continuing to improve patch after patch so far in Zenless, but right now we still need another Burnice, as she'll be putting this archetype on her back for the foreseeable future. And I have always believed that variety is the best thing for a game's lifespan, so hopefully we can see more off-field anomaly agents down the line to help alleviate some of this pressure to get Burnice. And I would also love to see an A rank that can do this as well, as not everyone will always be able to get the S rank agent on banner. And even then, Disorder is still in a weird spot in my opinion, whereas it's a very good option for the anomaly agents we currently have, but it's only significantly better with Yanagi specifically, so it doesn't seem to be the powerhouse archetype as of yet, and it just seems to be a very good option if you have the pieces to make it. But as we continue to do Zenless updates, I do believe Disorder will one day be at the top, and we will see just how strong it can truly get. It does suck in my opinion to see Yanagi's team damage fall off a cliff without Burnice, but again, hopefully with more time we will have more options for her. But one thing is for sure, that Anomaly is in a significantly better place than it used to be back in patch 1.0, so I don't think we can really complain, and just gotta sit back and see what's to come for the future of Anomaly based team comps. But let me remind you all that once we hit 5,000 subs, I'll be doing a giveaway for the characters on banner at the time, so be sure to subscribe for more zzzero content. And don't forget to check me out on Twitter at Ket7th and join the Discord, as we are almost at 500 members at the time of recording, and I do weekly giveaways there as well. And let me know how you feel about disordered teams in the comments below. And as always, my name is Ket7th. With that, signing out.